Darkcast Network. Welcome to the dark side of podcasting.
Hey, I'm Gina.
And I'm Amber.
And we are here to bring you the Weird True Crime Podcast, where we cover true crime cases that will leave you asking yourself, did that really happen?
We'll dive into well-known and not-so-known cases throughout history. Some are unsolved and some are just unbelievable.
We'll also talk about current news topics that range from kooky to questionable on episodes that we like to call Weird Headlines.
Be sure to subscribe and listen on your favorite podcast service.
Devil is on his way. Devil is on his way, motherfucker. The devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way. Fall to your knees. Devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way. Motherfucker, he's on his.
Hey y'all, welcome back to Mountain Murders.
I'm Heather.
And I'm Dylan.
Hey, Dylan.
Hey girl, what you doing?
I'm marveling at you.
My skills.
Just the things you say and do. For example, it just started raining outside. You're sitting here. You have a clear view out the window.
Yeah.
It's been kind of rainy all day. And you actually have the gall to say, what's that noise?
Yeah.
It's raining, bro. What do you think? What do you think was going on out there?
It's the rain. You know what? I have a declaration to make in front of our listeners.
Okay, brace yourselves, folks. What is the declaration?
I just realized how much I like to scoot.
What?
The motion of scooting. I scooted.
Gosh.
I was scooting towards you
In your chair?
in my chair in all my manliness.
It was a little gross.
You seemed
There
a
was
little...
a kind of a thrust involved in that scooting. I felt like you were intentionally kind of like wiggling your hips and your thighs at me as you were scooting across the floor.
Well, you can't scoot without a hip thrust. I mean, let's be honest.
Okay. I'm not gonna argue semantics with you, Dylan.
That's right.
But this conversation evolved after you mentioned how much you like scooting. I said, well, we should start calling you Scooter. That could be your nickname.
Yeah.
And then that evolved into grown men who have a nickname like Scooter. And at what point do you stop being called your childhood nickname? Like if I was an adult and people called me Scooter, I don't really think I would want people to call me Scooter when I'm 45 years old.
You don't want to be a 55-year-old Scooter?
Or Skipper.
Skipper?
Or Tiger. I knew a guy named Tiger. He was my friend's older brother, and he was pretty hot back in the day. But that was his nickname, Tiger, and even into his 20s, people called him Tiger, and I'm assuming they probably still do. I don't know.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Tiger?
Tiger.
Meow. No, come on.
Okay, Scooter.
Well, maybe somebody can answer this for us, or if you have a really interesting nickname for yourself or in your family,
We've talked about nicknames before.
reach out at mountainmurderspodcast@gmail.com and let us know your nickname
If you're
story.
an adult Scooter, please let me know how that affects you every day in your day-to-day life.
And we respect you, for real, Scoot. I'm going to shorten the nickname. I'm that guy.
You just want to be Scoot?
Yeah, I'm one syllable nickname guy.
Scoot. Okay. Dylan, let's talk about something we have coming up in the next couple of months. It's a bit of an announcement. We discussed this the other day, but for folks who haven't listened to our midweek, we are dedicating the next couple of months kind of to like theme months. We thought it would be fun, maybe shake things up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So September starts our theme months, and it's going to be running from September through February. September's theme is going to be back to school. All of our cases will be related to schools, colleges, students.
Nice.
We'll be covering the Kendrick Johnson case.
such a wild,
There's a lot of opinions, a lot of theories involved.
a lot of theories.
It'll be a good discussion.
Yes.
Then in October, we're going to have midweek horror movies. It's like a bit of a scare fest. We're going to talk about horror movies that are based in reality or based on a true story.
You know, some of those surprise me. You know, you'll be aware of the movie or familiar with the movie, and then you'll be completely surprised that it was based on real events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It absolutely is sometimes. You just can't believe it. And it's interesting, too, how a director or a writer will be inspired by an event and how they turn it into a movie.
Yeah.
And it might be have some elements of the truth, but then they add on to it in a, kind of a creative way.
Well, yeah, usually
A little creative liberty with it.
they have to do that, to a degree, I would say, to make it to a proper movie. But, American Gigolo was inspired by my life.
You were accused of murdering one of your clients.
Well, no, the Gigolo in part before.
And you were very attractive.
Yeah.
You were Richard Gere.
Well, I mean, I consulted on that film.
I've never seen you wear a Halston suit, Dylan.
Is that what that suit's called?
I'm like, you don't even know who Halston is, do you?
I don't have a clue.
All right. November is going to be Bloodlines, Family Annihilators,
Gosh, so disturbing.
Family Crimes. Then in December, we have Cold Nights, Cold Cases for the whole month.
I like that, baby.
January, we'll be discussing organized crime. And that doesn't always necessarily mean like mobsters. Just crimes that are organized on.
Yeah.
And then February, we'll have Deadly Sweethearts.
Oh, I bet you'll have a Black Widow in there.
You think so?
I think so.
Well, you'll be surprised, Dylan. Don't hold your breath. All right. Are you ready to get into today's case, Dylan?
Yes, you said it's a bit of a strange case with a lot of information.
There will be two parts to the story because of the many twists and turns that the case takes over the years. And it's one of those cases that is a cold case solved. It was a case that was dormant for many years and then is finally solved, decades later.
You know what I like about cold cases, besides, obviously friends, family, anyone left alive, getting closure or finally some sense of justice or just knowing what happened, is it also lets criminals know that you can never be safe. You can never or a lot of times you don't get away with it, even when you think you did.
Yeah, I bet with DNA technology and modern day forensics, there's a lot of people out there who've got their butthole in a pucker just waiting for that knock on the door one day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they're probably at Christmas and one of their nieces or nephews opens up like a 23andMe, which I guess might have actually not be a company anymore, but one of those DNA test companies. Ancestry kits. And they're just like, no, please don't. Please don't take the test.
Today's story is one of the biggest cold cases solved in Nashville history. It's a very well-known case. It really rocked the community of Nashville, Tennessee. And with this case, Dylan, I started thinking about the ripple effects that cases have on communities. People being interviewed multiple times, maybe even over the course of years.
Yeah. Which
has to be a little bit traumatic for you if you're a witness and you're repeatedly interviewed. Being a suspect, being hounded by police. If you're a suspect, everyone in the community thinks you committed the crime, even though you've never been convicted.
Right.
Which is tough. I mean, people's lives get ruined. And then if it's unsolved, you're always kind of looking over your shoulder and wondering if a person committed this crime.
Yeah, you can very quickly be convicted in the court of public opinion, right?
Oh, yeah. We've seen that multiple times. And in today's case, we're definitely going to see that. And in part 2, it's certainly going to be a big factor. But this is a case, lots of twists and turns over the years. Very interesting. Are you ready, Dylan?
Let's get started.
Marcia Virginia Trimble was born on March 28th of 1965 to parents Virginia and Charles. She had an older brother, Chuck. I believe he was 2.5 years older than her. Virginia was from Virginia and left home when she was 15 years old. At the time, she moved into her sister's house and worked at a soda fountain. Virginia managed to finish high school, then moved to Nashville, Tennessee, where she met Charles Trimble. Charles was a Vanderbilt University graduate who worked in sales at Keith Simmons, a industrial supply company. Virginia took a teaching job at Westminster Presbyterian Church School. The family resided in a modest brick home. Marcia was described as a happy-go-lucky little girl, sensitive. She was well-liked, had a lot of friends. Like many kids, she enjoyed riding her bike, playing outside, roller skating, Barbie dolls, and watching Little House on the Prairie.
Oh.
Good, wholesome family entertainment.
It is. You recently relived your childhood through a few episodes.
Man, I loved Little House on the Prairie when I was a kid.
Yeah, Michael Landon, man, I forget how he was a mega star.
He was big. Star, yeah.
It's so funny how different.
And then he was on that show, was it Touched Mine Uncle? I mean, an Angel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny, the big stars back in the day, they just looked like normal people. You know what I mean?
They did.
They weren't totally polished, and everybody didn't have
supermodel
super
looks.
white teeth, or all this.
Look like regular people.
And I really think that gave us some authenticity to the work they did.
Well, look at Rodney Dangerfield.
Right.
I love Rodney Dangerfield. I think he's very funny. Not a conventionally attractive man.
No.
Very interesting, unique look.
But he leaned into that.
But he was amazing. Like, he was super funny, and he was great in every movie that he ever did, even the turds.
Yeah.
Right? Virginia and her daughter Marcia spoke often about religion. At school, Marcia was considered a very bright child. Every morning, she and another little girl served as student librarians. They went around to all the classrooms to collect books, then returned them to the library and carded them.
Nice.
It's kind of cool.
That is cool. That's a very important function they were doing.
Yeah, and I guess, you have to be a certain kind of student to be chosen for this. Responsible, smart.
Yeah, you got to have
reliable.
You got to have your shit together. You can't be just a maniac, running around the hall with the book cart. You got to be a little reserved, right?
Okay.
Sophisticated, if you will.
All right. On Tuesday, February 25th of 1975, the weather was showing signs that spring was on its way. Marcia came home from school at the usual time, watched Gilligan's Island, and had a snack. Did you like Gilligan's Island?
Yeah, I remember watching it a little bit when I was younger.
I dressed up one year as Gilligan for Halloween. It was fun.
Well, I always wondered how they stayed so clean being in a survival situation.
Yeah. Were you a Ginger or Marianne fan?
I'd have to say, I don't know.
Or were you into Mrs. Howell?
No,
Lovey.
Ginger and Marianne, they both provided different things for me. Does that make sense?
Oh, I think that's the case for a lot of young
yeah,
people.
they were both very special.
A lot of young people coming of age.
To me in different ways.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you didn't have a favorite?
No, I like both of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. At 10 years old, Marcia had joined the Girl Scouts. It was her first year, and her mother was acting as the troop leader. The prospect of selling cookies had been really fun for Marcia. She took the job very seriously. It was easy for the cute, blonde-haired, freckled-faced Marcia to sell cookies in Nashville. Most people were glad to buy cookies and, of course, support the Scouts. And let's be honest, when you have a cute little girl come up to you like, hey, you want to buy some cookies? It's really hard to say no.
It is.
To cute little kids trying to sell you cookies.
I know they still sell them, and everybody has their favorite flavor and stuff, and it's great to support your local groups when you see your favorite cookie. But I feel like Girl Scout cookies kind of had a heyday.
Yeah. I think they were really popular back in the day.
Right.
And it's sometime maybe around the 2000s, they started kind of, I guess, falling by the wayside. I mean, people still buy them, but I don't feel like it's as big of an event maybe as it once was.
Right.
Because people really looked forward to cookie season with the Girl Scouts.
Well,
I knew people who were like, hell yeah, it's Thin Mint time.
Yeah, you got to get your multiple boxes of your favorite cookies. And I think what it is now you'll see, and I'm sure some people still do this, but it was like your local neighborhood Girl Scouts are who you bought your cookies from, right?
Well, and maybe in small towns you still have that attitude. I'm not sure, but, things have just changed so much
Well, they have. I mean,
over the last couple of decades.
people's less likely to let their child go door to door, by themselves or
Well,
with a
there's
friend selling cookies. But you usually knew the Girl Scout, you knew the family.
Now I always see tents set up like in front of Walmart.
Yeah, and it's just a little less personable.
Yeah, maybe a little safer for the girls.
Well, yeah, of course.
What was your favorite Girl Scout cookie?
I like the caramel one.
The Coconut Delights.
Yeah, well,
Are they with the caramel and the coconut? They used to be called Samoas.
yes,
You like those?
that's the ones.
I figured.
Yeah, I like those. I don't think they can call them Samoas anymore.
No, they're called caramel or Coconut Delights.
because
I think.
that was offensive.
Yeah, to people who live in Samoa.
I guess.
Yes.
Home of the chocolate coconut cookie, I guess.
It's very offensive, Dylan. I always liked the Thin Mints.
Yes.
Papa would put them in the freezer,
Ooh,
and they were like extra good that way.
I bet.
So I kind of grew up eating the Thin Mints in the freezer, and I always liked the Caramel Delights, as you mentioned. And then I think they were called Do-si-dos, and they were kind of a chocolate peanut butter wafery cookie.
ooh.
I liked those.
See, I'm about to get me some Girl Scout cookies now.
The brick ranch style house was located on Copeland Drive near the Green Hills area. So let's talk a little bit about this neighborhood, Dylan. In Nashville, Green Hills bordered Belle Meade, which remains one of the most influential, affluent and prestigious neighborhoods in Nashville. This is the kind of place where former Vice President Al Gore owned a home, along with country music stars like Vince Gill and his wife, Amy Grant. These are $1 million homes, many of them historic homes, mansions.
Sounds nice.
This is a ritzy neighborhood. And Green Hills is just, kind of adjacent to that. So, of course, it sounds like a lovely area, right? I mean, usually when you have this kind of affluent area, and if you live on the outskirts of that or just kind of surrounding it, you're typically in kind of a nicer, safer, quiet neighborhood, right?
Right. Nice, solid middle-class neighborhood, right? Nice homes, nice yards.
Currently, the average home price in Belle Meade is $3.3 million.
Damn.
Yeah. Copeland Drive was an area with quiet streets where children played outside without supervision and neighborhood pets roamed free. It was considered a really safe place. Marcia took some of the cookie cartons and hit the street. She first met up with another 10-year-old boy named March Egerton. They attended Julia Green Elementary School together. March bought 2 boxes of cookies from Marcia. He snacked on the cookies while watching Marcia make a few deliveries down the street. When she returned, March bought another box of cookies and started following her, just kind of hanging out, eating his cookies while she's making deliveries.
Damn, March is ripping through the cookies.
He was hungry.
He's got disposable income.
Well, it's after school. Just watch Gilligan's Island. Want to eat some snacks. Realizing many of the neighbors who'd bought cookies weren't home yet, because again, this is kind of early afternoon. A lot of people work, run errands. They're not home till 5:30, right? Marcia decided to wait on the curb. Her father, Charles, drove by on his way home from work and kind of waved to Marcia, asked, what are you doing? And she tells him she's going to be home in a few minutes. Around this time, Virginia could see her daughter through the window and called out to her. Marcia told her mother they were waiting for neighbors to come home. There were 5 families who had ordered cookies that she hadn't been able to deliver to that day. So, mom sees her, dad sees her. No big deal. Marcia stayed outside delivering cookies until the sun started going down. Now, remember, this is February, so it's going to get dark probably a little earlier.
Yeah, 7:30.
I'm thinking maybe even like 6:30.
Oh, 6:30.
Sun starts going down probably around 4:30.
I forgot about daylight savings.
She'd been carrying the cookie boxes along with an envelope containing $15. She saw her grandmother, Eunice Trimble, pulling into the driveway. Marcia greeted her grandmother and passed over the cookies that, she had ordered. Eunice paid Marcia $5. Chuck Trimble, Marcia's brother, was shooting basketball in the driveway, and March Egerton joined him. Marcia helped her grandmother carry some things inside. Grandma Eunice had brought over a dessert. Charles poured a drink for himself and his mother while Virginia made dinner. Marcia disappeared into her bedroom for a few minutes, then emerged with some cookies. She told her mother she was going to deliver the cookies to the Maxwell residence, and this was around 5:25 p.m. When Virginia told her, put on your coat, Marcia scoffed, saying, I'm only going to be gone for a couple of minutes. Very typical kid thing to say, right?
Yeah, it's almost like they'll be uncomfortable just because you told them to do something.
I don't know what it is about kids, but man, they do not care to go out without a coat on. It can be freezing cold, and they're like, nope, I'm not going to wear this coat.
Shorts in the winter and hoodies in the summer.
At 5:30 p.m., Marie Maxwell and her 11-month-old daughter pulled into the driveway and parked kind of at the back of their home. While taking her daughter out of the car seat, Marie thought she saw 3 figures standing in the shadows by her neighbor's garage. This home was owned by Mrs. Howard, a widow. She recognized Marcia Trimble. Now, she can kind of see there's like a little, kind of some trees, but she can see these 3 figures, and she sees a little girl. She thinks it's Marcia. It was odd because Marcia had never been in the Howard yard before. Marie assumed that Marcia would be over in a couple of minutes to bring her cookies. Marie took her child into the house. She got out her checkbook to pay Marcia. Behind her property was a bit of a wooded area. And a few minutes after this, Marie heard her dog Daisy barking. She figured Marcia had walked the path through the woods to deliver to another house, maybe on the, opposite street. Marie noted that she never heard the dog bark like that before, and especially not at Marcia. This dog typically was friendly with the little girl. Now, does this sound strange to you, Dylan?
Yeah, but it's also one of those situations where it just, in hindsight, you may notice things about it more so than when it's actually happening.
Sometime between 5:45 p.m. and 6 p.m., Virginia stepped outside to call her daughter in for supper. Chuck told his mother he had last seen Martha while playing horse, because again, they're playing basketball. You know the game horse, right? He and March were playing horse. After they'd finished playing, Chuck rode his bike around for a few minutes and then came inside. Charles had a meeting with the Boy Scouts that evening. To keep on schedule, the family needed to eat supper, but there was no sign of Marcia. Virginia looked in the backyard and then went back to the front yard. She noticed some boys playing in the Egerton driveway. She continued calling for Marcia. Back inside, Virginia calls Marie Maxwell. Marie told her Marcia had been talking to someone in the Howard driveway. Like I mentioned, Mrs. Howard, a widow in her 70s, she did not like children in her yard. So sounds like maybe she was not the most friendly woman.
She's a stay off my grass kind of person.
Yeah, so it was unusual. That's why Marie Maxwell thought it was strange, because she knew Mrs. Howard was kind of a curmudgeonly, hateful old lady who did not buy Girl Scout cookies and did not like children in or around her home.
Well, I mean, that can be viewed as being an ass. And if kids are just playing and I had a, nice big yard and they weren't messing anything up, I would very seldom care, right, that they're there. Some people may think we despise children, but it's not true. We don't hate children. We hate unruly children.
I don't hate them. I hate their parents.
No, but at the same time, I think a person has a right to, have their yard and stuff the way they want it.
Look, I had a great grandma, my granny. She was hateful. We've talked about her before. She was kind of hateful thing. And she did not like kids, like neighborhood kids, climbing the fence, getting in and around her yard.
Well, yeah.
She had a big garden in the back. She was always like, they're going to get back there and mess my garden up. But her whole thing, and now maybe she just did not like children, because I don't feel like she personally liked me very much or any of the other grandkids. Maybe that was just her way. I don't know. She definitely hated my stepmom. So when I compare the two, I'm like, well, maybe she didn't despise me so much, right? Because she really hated my stepmom. So there was some differences there. But her thing was always, she was afraid kids would get hurt on her property and then sue her.
Well, I mean, that's happened in the past.
She'd be like, they're going to try to climb that tree and break their arm.
Well, and that's happened to some people in the past. You have some kid whose parents never around until something happens, and then they're trying to sue you for some kind of liability or something like that. Now, that's very unlikely thing to happen.
Well, I know.
But, some people worry about stuff like that. They truly do.
I think it was just her excuse
Well, there's that.
to like not allow us to play with the kids next door or
Yeah.
across the street
They'll sue you.
in her yard. Yeah. Marie explained that she had waited for Marcia to bring the cookies, but the girl had never showed up. Virginia began calling other neighbors. Several people confirmed they had seen Marcia earlier, but not since she had left that second time and headed to the Maxwell house. So after 5:30, nobody had seen her. Virginia went outside again. This time the family's 2 dogs, Princess and Popcorn, were across the street. The dogs, saw Virginia, came running home to the front porch. Virginia knew if Marcia had gone to a neighbor's house, the dogs probably followed her. That was pretty typical. But she didn't understand why they were home now without Marcia.
And now that anxiety's starting to build. At first it just seems normal, because this was a time when, children weren't always within eyesight. You know what I mean? They ran around, played around the neighborhood.
A lot of us are still part of that generation, I think, where, you came home when the lights turned on.
Yeah.
You came home at dusk or you came home at dinner time.
Yeah, exactly.
When you started smelling like food wafting through the neighborhood.
But
you knew
normally,
it was probably supper time, and that's when you went home.
a lot of times you were in literal earshot of home.
Yeah.
If your mom or dad comes out and hollers for you, you start, you make your way back home very quickly.
Yeah.
So as they start this search, and I'm sure not yet, it's not quite panic yet, but I'm sure there's a bit of a anxiousness to,
Oh, there is.
Right.
I mean, those of us who are parents know this feeling. You lose your child in a store. When they're little, they love to hide under clothing racks.
Right.
When you lose your kid, they're think they're playing a fun game. Or they go hide in a fitting room or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's that panic instantly kicks in, right? By now, Virginia's out. She's calling. She's becoming a little bit frantic. Charles now has joined her, looking for Martha as well, calling out for her, probably pacing up and down the sidewalk a little bit. She was still not answering. By now, it was 6:30. So she's been gone for about an hour.
Damn.
Without a coat, when she was only supposed to be away for a few minutes.
Okay, so now...
Knowing dinner's about ready, and we kind of have a schedule we need to keep.
Yeah, and it's cold out and all that stuff, so yeah.
Charles and Chuck got into the family car and drove around the circle because it seems that Copeland Drive was a bit of a circular neighborhood. So they drove around the circle for 5 minutes, which is about all it took to get around the neighborhood. Then he went out of the neighborhood onto Hobbs Road, which is a main thoroughfare through Green Hills. Sometimes Marcia would wander off to the corner where there was a nursery, I guess a plant nursery, and she would buy a soft drink from this nursery. I don't know if there were drink machines or if they sold sodas. So he thought maybe she'd wandered off down there, but guess what? She was not there. Charles couldn't think of anywhere else to look for his child. Virginia had stayed behind, calling more neighbors. She wasn't having any luck. I mean, this has got to be a horrible situation.
Yeah, and for every dead end, as you try to look for them and call around to people, it just keeps getting worse, keeps, your anxiety growing until, it's going to turn into fear very quickly.
Reminds me of the Kelly Tinyans case that we covered a couple months ago.
Yeah.
How her parents were trying to find her, and you get so frantic and panicked and agitated and worried. No one had seen Marcia. Virginia tried Mrs. Marie Maxwell again, who told her it was around 5:30 when she had spotted Marcia over at the Howard house. I mean, by now, things are not looking good. The panic is set. The family's very worried. Neither Charles nor Virginia can think of anywhere else their daughter would have gone. Again, she doesn't have a coat. It's getting cold outside. They waited a little while longer, thinking that any minute she was going to pop back in. Finally, Charles phoned their friend Sherman Nickens, who worked for the Metro Police, the Nashville Metropolitan Police. Nickens didn't take the report of Marcia missing lightly and told her father to immediately call police dispatch. Nickens even called dispatch himself before leaving his home.
Okay.
To head over. 2 patrol officers were dispatched to the Trimble home around 7:47 p.m. 2 more officers from Youth Guidance arrived. Now, Youth Guidance was kind of like the separate division that was created to handle juvenile cases, a lot of times like runaways, that kind of thing. The officers took the missing children's report. Major Curry, who founded the Youth Guidance, was one of the latest to arrive. He called some of his best people to Copeland Drive. Curry knew this was different than most missing child cases. Many kids who went missing had either maybe had some kind of fight or conflict with their parents before taking off. He took the report very seriously, considering there had not been any kind of trouble or argument beforehand.
Well, that's interesting for them to get this person connected to this youth guidance program, who's almost very more so than usual, taking it very seriously in the beginning.
Well, she's a 9-year-old girl. She's just a week or so away from turning 10. She's a little girl. And, you know, when you think of runaways, you typically think of teenagers, not little children.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
I would say 9, 10. To me, that's a little kid, right?
Right.
It didn't take long for the news to spread beyond the neighborhood that Marcia Trimble was missing. By 9 p.m., an intense search of the area commenced. Neighbors and residents outside of Copeland Drive joined the effort. Canine units were brought in, along with a helicopter that hovered above the treetops. Before the end of the night, 100 cars lined Copeland Drive. If Marcia was outside, folks were worried she would freeze to death as temperatures plummeted. There was a sense of urgency in locating the little girl. Hour by hour, hopes of the girl making her way home grew unlikely. Virginia, who had become deeply religious in the last few years, began praying for her daughter's safety. The pastor and friends from their church arrived for support. A missing child from Green Hills was a major news story. It didn't take long for reporters to start showing up. The family didn't want to be photographed, but Charles did give them pictures of Marcia. He hoped someone would see the little girl's picture, maybe on TV or in the newspaper, and call police, call with a tip, recognize her. A rookie reporter named Oprah Winfrey showed up at the home to interview the family, but was turned away.
The Oprah Winfrey?
The Oprah Winfrey.
Wow.
Yeah, she got her start as a reporter in Nashville.
Nice.
Yeah. Marcia's disappearance made the 10 o'clock news. Citizens were in a frenzy over the missing child and started aiding in the search as well. More than 200 people trekked around the area in the mud to look for this little girl. Everyone who was interviewed began pointing fingers at Jeff Womack, a neighborhood boy, 15 years old, who stated that he was supposed to meet Marcia at 5:30 to buy cookies. As Marcia had left her home, she had even said to her mom, Jeff Womack is supposed to find me and pay me.
So very quickly, people started wondering if this 15-year-old had something to do with her being missing?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we're going to get into that. So Marcia had interacted with him earlier that afternoon. Jeff had told the girl that he didn't have any money and would pay when his mother had gotten home. I mean, and this is very normal. A kid knocks on your door. She's bringing something the mom has ordered.
Right.
The kid's like, I don't have any money. You'll have to come back or whatever. It's my understanding that Marcia left the cookies with this boy. And then he's like, when my mom gets home, I'll make sure we pay you.
Right.
Yeah. So pretty casual, right? Jeff had been at a neighbor's house that evening. I mean, he had a pretty decent alibi. Peggy Moran, one of the neighbors, ran a daycare like in her home, and Jeff worked for her sometimes. He had been with several children that evening while Peggy went bowling. The 15-year-old was dressed in an army jacket and shoes that had the words "fuck you" written on them, like in, marker or something.
It's probably pen, like a big pen.
Yeah, I'm thinking like a Sharpie or something. Law enforcement, of course, thought he was someone of interest. just based on the way he was dressed. It's the 70s.
Yeah.
He's got on this army jacket. He's got, curse words written on his shoes.
Whoa.
Probably got a little bit of a shaggy haircut.
This guy.
It's the same. I mean, it's the same story we've heard time and time again. You're a little bit of a misfit or an outcast, and you're immediately going to be blamed for something.
Well, and that's true. That's the way it goes.
West Memphis 3. I mean, we've heard this before.
And I think it was even more so true back in the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, long-haired freaky people need not apply.
Well, no, I mean,
You're out criminals.
Nowadays, of course, the society's not quite as conservative,
Well, the alternative looks are a bit more accepted.
Yes,
right?
yeah, exactly. I mean,
and I think our attitudes have kind of evolved or changed over the years that, it's not harmful. Young people are just expressing themselves with certain dress or hairstyle, and most parents consider it a phase, and they're going to grow out of it.
yeah, but I mean, nowadays, it's like you can't even be that standout weird kid, It's like you have to be really weird to stand out nowadays,
It's true.
Yeah.
Man, I used to get beat up all the time for being the weird
Well,
kid.
everybody's got tats and, hair color.
I know. I used to get
jewelry.
people would kick my ass because I had pink hair
Yeah.
in the 8th grade. I don't.
How dare you?
Yeah. 90s were a different time. Jeff told officers that he had seen the little girl around 4:30. When they asked him to empty his pockets, the boy had $5 in cash, some pennies, and a pack of condoms. Now, he explained that the money had been paid to him by Peggy for babysitting.
Right.
The condoms had been bought for a Saturday night concert at the Municipal Auditorium.
Now he's looking to have a good time, huh?
Maybe he's, thinking he's going to sell them to his friends, that kind of thing. Or maybe he's going to get it on. He's like, let's get it on.
Well, at least he's protecting.
Sugar.
At least he's using protection.
Yeah. I mean, kids being responsible. So, they are talking to Jeff. They see that he does have a bit of an alibi, but they're also concerned because,
He's Jeff.
he looks weird
Right.
in his army jacket, which is like, what?
So hardcore.
So hardcore. On Wednesday, around 3 a.m., the search was called off and volunteers were told to go home. Of course, the temperatures were dropping, just not good conditions to be out searching. Law enforcement told them, we'll continue the search, but everybody else just, go home, get some rest. We can reconvene.
Yeah, and it's typical way these types of things go. At first, everyone's concerned. They just want to help, right? They're quick to mobilize. But, it doesn't take long. Once you search the immediate area and things like that, it's like, what do you do next,
Well, in the 70s, Nashville was still considered a bit of a sleepy little town. At the time, around 450,000 people lived in the entire metropolitan area, but most residents didn't feel like it was a mid-sized city. It was full of these little kind of communities, little subdivisions, and flourishing neighborhoods where people felt sheltered from crime and the outside world. Country music was popular, but it was not the only music in town. Music Row was known internationally as a center for recording studios and record labels. It wasn't uncommon at the time for a child to take ballet lessons from Jim Ed Brown's wife, Becky, or bump into June Carter Cash at the grocery store.
Oh.
At the time, these country music artists that lived in Nashville, they lived a pretty, normal life. And this is kind of an interesting side note. So my stepmother's sister is married to this guy, Lowell. You've met Lowell.
Yeah.
He grew up in Nashville, like in the, 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever. And over the summer, I had a conversation with him, and he was telling me about this. He was saying, like, when I grew up in the 60s and 70s in Nashville, these country music stars, he's like, they didn't live in mansions. A lot of them lived in, like, normal middle-class homes.
Right.
Brick ranchers, and you would see them out and about. And he told me I can't even remember all of the stories, but he told me a couple of stories about interactions with music artists and having people live in his neighborhood, or he went to school with somebody's kid.
So they're just regular people too, right? They got to
Yeah.
go to the grocery store. They're going to mow their grass.
Yeah.
You'll see them at the stop sign or,
You'll see
around
them
the neighborhood.
at the, curb hop, getting a ice cream cone, French fries, like normal stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah. The Grand Ole Opry was celebrating its 50th anniversary in 1975 and had brought some new acts to the stage, artists like Barbara Mandrell and Dolly Parton. Before the Opry had been considered kind of this old-timey radio show, but now it was appealing to younger audiences because they're getting, like, big stars. They don't have little Jimmy Dickens
Right.
as the main attraction, and Minnie Pearl. They have, Dolly Parton.
Who's that?
Right. Teddy Bart, who hosted an afternoon talk radio show on the popular WSM radio network, recalled in an interview with the Nashville Scene, quote, "Never before or after have I witnessed an event which so infused the totality of this town like the Marcia Trimble case." Again, widespread, everyone's hearing it, and like the whole town of Nashville is concerned about this child. Right?
Okay, so it seems like one of the first sensational cases in that area.
The February 26, 1975 edition of the Tennessean landed on Nashvillians' doorsteps with reports of a missing 9-year-old girl dominating the news. With word spreading, citizens began showing up to volunteer. The atmosphere outside the Trimble home was like a circus. There were volunteers, hundreds of cars, law enforcement, media, and then, of course, just spectators who wanted to catch a glimpse of the family or get a peek of their house.
Looky-loos.
Yeah. The Trimbles felt hope. Surely, with so many people turning their attention to Marcia, she would be found. Police set up a command post inside the Trimbles' home. There was a real possibility, they theorized, that Marcia had been abducted. Teams searched on horseback in Percy Warner and Edwin Warner Parks, which is 2,500 acres of woodlands. A small lake was dragged. Railroad police searched the rail yards. Before the day was over, an estimated 1,000 people had joined in the search for this child.
Damn.
Law enforcement made an appeal over the radio and TV, asking Nashvillians to check ditches, drain pipes, culverts, wooded lots, like any place you could possibly find a child.
Damn. I mean, you imagine looking in ditches and stuff like that.
Sheds, garages, under your porch. I mean, crawl spaces. The entire city, it seemed, was involved in the search for Marcia Trimble. A family from Pennsylvania who'd been traveling through Nashville heard about this missing child on the radio. The couple and their 3 children decided to stop and help.
Wow.
I mean, can you imagine today? People just, I don't feel like have that kind of
No. People will step over someone.
compassion or empathy or call to help.
Or just a sense of community.
Yeah.
That actually extends beyond your own community.
This could be my child was a sentiment shared throughout the city. Then the investigation faced several challenges. Different divisions were working on the case. You had the youth guidance, you had the police department, state police, you had all these different agencies. And we all know that sometimes when you have different groups working on a case, they're not always willing to share files or information.
Right.
They don't communicate with each other.
They don't play well together.
That was a big problem in this case. And additionally, another agency had joined the case, the FBI. The special agent who was on the case felt there were too many people, too many volunteers, and too much media.
Well, yeah, I mean, it helps to get the word out in the very beginning, and it feels like a good thing, but this really needs to be organized.
Well, you could be
controlled.
trampling a crime scene.
Yes. Well, you have people who are not investigators, not trained investigators, potentially coming upon a scene, not having any kind of
compromising integrity of the scene.
Yeah, no scene integrity. They may actually, pick something up and take it away. That could be crucial evidence, or destroy crucial evidence. So yeah, I can see that being worrisome after after the initial shock.
Well, and then just trying to wrangle all these people,
Right.
direct them. I mean, I'm sure it was chaos.
Yes.
The FBI stepped in to begin another round of interviews with family and witnesses. Mrs. Howard had not been home on Tuesday when Marie Maxwell had seen Marcia talking to two people next to the garage. As she was the last person to see Marcia, Marie Maxwell would be interviewed on 10 separate occasions, 6 times by the police, 4 times by the FBI. The interviews would continue for months, even years. Law enforcement was inundated with tips. Many of these, of course, were false leads. A call came in reporting that she was being held at Muhammad's Temple of Islam
Oh, yeah.
in Nashville. The caller later admitted he'd made up the story trying to collect some money, but none of these tips helped police along in their investigation.
I can't believe someone would, without any merit, blame the Temple of Islam in Nashville.
And Jeff Womack became a top suspect. Though the 15-year-old had provided an alibi, he refused to make any additional statements. He would also not take a polygraph exam, and his parents lawyered up. Which police looked at this all as, this is bad. This kid's guilty. If he wasn't guilty, he wouldn't get a lawyer. He would take a polygraph.
And I don't agree with either of those statements.
I know. I don't either.
No, yeah, I don't. And even probably more so now in my my wiser years, I would never talk with investigators without a lawyer present.
No.
Especially in something serious as this. And I'm just never, ever, ever going to take a polygraph. I mean, because people pass them that are guilty and people fail them that are innocent. So it's junk science.
I have way too much anxiety to take a polygraph.
Well, see, that's the thing about it. I'm pretty certain that just the way me and you both are, you even more so, we would, be giving, or, they can even say inconclusive is almost like guilt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like if they don't say passing, then basically everything else means guilty. And just the whole thing, yeah.
Those voice stress tests are so much more reliable and accurate, it seems.
Yeah, I know.
Than the polygraph. Law enforcement didn't believe Marcia was kidnapped for ransom money. The Trimbles were a working-class family. They feared that if she had been taken, it was for, quote, sexual implications. $30,000 had been donated as a reward for finding the child. The governor's wife visited the Trimble home. The governor's kind of making himself part of the case. He's talking about it. His wife's showing up. She's making statements. They had a child around the same age. So, of course, they felt very compelled to try to help find this little girl. The Trimbles admitted they had been separated for 6 months back in 1973 due to Charles's drinking. The situation had upset Marcia. Charles had a history of drinking excessively, but there was no domestic violence in the home. Since reconciliation, the Trimbles said there had been no more marital problems and that Marcia had good relationships with both parents. Several witnesses came forward with the description of a bushy-haired man seen driving through the neighborhood in a white, older model Oldsmobile or Chevrolet. He stood out as not being a resident. He was described as a man with a dark complexion, bushy hair, and a large nose.
Oh.
The bushy-haired man. There's always a bushy-haired man.
This bushy-haired stranger.
Several neighbors passed lie detector tests. Jeff Womack remained a person of interest. The Womacks were like any other normal family. 15-year-old Jeffrey attended Hillsborough High School. He had 2 older brothers. Investigators discovered that Jeff had left the daycare for, quote, a short period of time on Tuesday, which matched what they knew about Marcia arriving with the cookies. So he's got, 15, 20 minutes unaccounted for.
Okay. So that's very suspicious in their minds.
So after he has this interaction with Marcia, he goes to McDonald's with another daycare employee named Amy, who's a full-time employee, to get dinner for the kids for that evening. Police were interested in that short period of time. The 15 or 20 minutes.
Unaccounted
for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perhaps he had had time to speak with Marcia and the third person in Mrs. Howard's driveway during this time.
So he could have been in that group in the in Mrs. Howard's driveway.
According to law enforcement, yeah. Jeff's attorney arranged for a private polygraph in which the boy reportedly passed. Finally, he went to the police headquarters to take a second test. He was eliminated as a suspect, but other officials were not certain that he wasn't their guy. They're still, even though he's kind of been cleared, they're still going to focus on him. And we'll get to more of that in part 2.
That doesn't really make sense, though. He finally, got a lawyer, got advice, which I think is a fair thing to do. Took multiple polygraphs, including theirs, administered by one of their instructors or whatever. And yeah.
But he's got an army coat, Dylan, and he has condoms in his pocket.
I forgot about that.
Guilty.
Damn it. And he has
guilty.
bad words scribbled on his shoe. I mean, can you imagine?
I'm clutching my pearls.
No, I bet back then that was like, people were like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, can you believe he would wear those shoes in public?
Wow.
With those words on them?
What a menace to society.
He is.
Some Nashvillians didn't like Virginia's stoic nature as she appeared on television. They thought she was too poised and confident. Some rumors persisted that Marcia was adopted and that her real parents had come back for her.
So you want to see a blubbering mess of, I guess you have this idea in your head what parents should act like in this situation they did not ask to be in, that no parent wants to be in.
And we have a bit of an explanation for her behavior, and I'm going to explain that here in just a second. So police had to assure the public that the Trimbles were Marcia's natural parents, but still people felt Virginia knew more about Marcia's disappearance than she was letting on. But it's been explained that Marcia was a very faithful woman, devout, religious, believed in the power of prayer, and she really truly believed her faith would bring her daughter home and that her daughter was going to come back.
Okay.
So if she seemed really poised and like it's because she felt like it's in the Lord's hands.
And he'll take care of it.
Yeah. The Thorpe family lived on Estes Road. Now, this has been some days past, okay? It was Easter now when Harry Moffat, brother-in-law to John Thorpe, had wanted to buy an outboard motor from him. Harry went into the Thorpe garage where John was storing the motor. Now, this wasn't really a garage per se. It was more like a shed. It didn't really have any doors on it, and it was used for junk and storage. And there were lots of cluttery things in there. It had like old bicycles, boat paddles, gas cans, bags of mulch and fertilizer, tools, lawn equipment. It's just a big kind of junky shed.
Right.
Probably hadn't been cleaned out in a number of years. While digging around in the shed, Harry spotted something in the left corner. Now, at first, he thought it was a doll's face, but it didn't take long for him to realize it was the body of a child.
Oh, my God.
Not wanting to disturb the families inside the Thorpe's house because they had relatives over, they had family members, spending the weekend. There were kids. It's Easter Sunday. I'm sure they're like having food and maybe doing Easter egg hunts, whatever. So he doesn't want to go in and like tell everybody what he's found. So he ends up calling his brother-in-law to join him outside. They go in the shed, and when the men determined that they had found a body, they immediately called law enforcement.
Yeah, I mean, that's not something you can wait on. You shouldn't.
Several family members had been in the shed recently. Was it possible that Marcia's body had been in there for 33 days? Because at that point, she's been missing 33 days, Dylan.
Damn.
Law enforcement had searched the shed multiple times over the past few weeks and had never seen this child's body.
And so someone else goes out there looking for an item in the shed, the motor, and very quickly sees her.
Yeah, he's kind of like moving some stuff around,
right?
Like looking for this motor. Again, it's just there's a lot of stuff in there.
So it leads you to believe, if it had been searched multiple times by able-bodied people, that it's very unlikely that they would miss her. I mean, is that possible?
Yes, I guess. I mean, that's the part that's very strange. The Trimbles arrived home from church to learn the heartbreaking news. Virginia prayed, "God, please don't let me forget her face." And that line, breaks my heart.
That's terrible.
It's so sad. The missing persons case was now a homicide. Less than 200 yards away from the Trimble home, a crime scene unfolded. Marcia's body was lying on top of a bag of fertilizer in some kind of woven basket. Partially covering her legs was an old sheet, a bedspread, and a shower curtain. Her clothes were intact. She was wearing the boots she'd left home in. In her right hand was a small piece of cord. A green glass jar had been placed on top of her body, along with the cookie carton. There were 6 boxes of cookies kind of scattered around, and the envelope that she was carrying with money in it was there but empty. Someone had taken the money. A forensic pathologist determined Marcia's windpipe had been crushed. She had a small laceration on her forehead. After a preliminary exam, the girl's body was flown to Memphis on the governor's Learjet for an autopsy. The Trimbles did not want to see their child's body, stating they wanted to remember her as the last time they had seen her, happy and smiling. I understand this.
Yeah.
I think it would be very hard to see your child at a funeral home, to view their body.
No.
I think that would be terrible.
No, and I can't imagine that her remains were in very good condition.
Well, you'd be surprised, Dylan. February, the temperatures were pretty cool out, and it was not as decomposed as you might think.
Well, yeah, but I mean, still, even with the best people that go kind of naturally in controlled environments, it still there's an eeriness when you view their body. So I think that is a call I would make, that I wouldn't want to view my child's remains.
Marcia's funeral was held on April 1st, 1975. The day marked 5 weeks since she had gone missing. After an exhaustive 33-day search, finding Marcia's body so close to home was a slap in the face for law enforcement. People wondered if the police had just absolutely bungled the case. Like how you search the shed and you don't find her. So then you start having, public trust and law enforcement plummeting. People start questioning the police. Are they really doing their job? Can we have faith that they're going to solve this?
Well, and they were trying. It sounded like they were trying as hard as they could, as far as in the very beginning with the major mobilization of everyone, including volunteers. I guess it's possible that if they, it's not like they were searching just the shed. You know what I'm saying? They were searching the whole region. So it's kind of hard to, now, if someone had said, look, you should go look in the shed, if that had been like a major point in the investigation, like she was last seen there or something like that, and then you could be like, well, you didn't even do a good job of looking there. But they were looking everywhere.
Well, look, I will admit, I can go into the basement and be looking for something and look right over it. Like, if there's junk everywhere, I don't always find what I'm looking for. You know what I mean?
And we don't know to what degree.
I mean, I can't find shit I'm looking for. So if I'm, just looking for a pair of garden shears,
right,
in this shed, I'm probably not going to notice over in the corner, what's piled up over there.
And we don't know to what degree items were moved when this person was looking for this boat motor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He could have pulled a third of the stuff out before him. You know what I mean? We don't know that answer to that.
The autopsy showed Marcia had died close to the time of her disappearance by manual strangulation. They didn't really find any evidence that she had been sexually assaulted, but there was semen in the vagina. And what they mean by signs of sexual assault is like there were no tears or bruising.
No, I get that, but considering her age, I would say that is signs of sexual assault.
Well, there was semen in the vagina, but the pathologist speculated that the perpetrator had possibly ejaculated without penetrating her.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I don't know.
No,
it's the 70s. they don't have exactly the best.
Well, no,
they're
I
not
get-
working with the best, tools and
No, they're doing their
information.
best, and I guess that matters. The very specific wording on stuff like that matters.
Due to the cooler temperatures, the body did not decompose quickly. It seemed due to livor mortis, which is the lividity or like the skin discoloration that occurs after death due to blood settling, that Marcia had actually been in that shed for 33 days. Yet others were not buying this. They had searched the shed thoroughly several times. Multiple law enforcement officers had made notes about the shed once they'd searched it.
Well, and there's not only her body, there's also the Girl Scout cookies, which I'm going to imagine if you saw random boxes of Girl Scout cookies in the shed, given the situation, knowing that she was actually out delivering cookies, that would really catch your eye. So it does seem a little odd.
The Trimbles fell under even more scrutiny after their daughter was discovered. Again, the public didn't care much for Virginia. One day she was having lunch with a friend when the radio broadcast announced that she'd confessed to killing her daughter.
Oh my gosh.
The family started receiving threats, bomb threats, death threats.
The public, even before the internet, the public was the same. It's just the internet gives a very a great forum for the public to do what it does.
Before the internet, we weren't aware of how insane our neighbors and people were, right? Their crazy was like concealed a little bit better.
Yeah, but even in this situation, it's the same thing. You know what I mean? And I've never... you always get the bomb threat people or the random death threat people. Like someone you don't agree with online or in some kind of media you consume or just a public forum in any manner. You want to kill them? You're gonna threaten to kill them? It's such a weird, a very strange thing.
Well, even more rumors persisted. People believed, her parents were involved. Her mother had something to do with it. I mean, just the same kinds of stuff that comes up in a lot of these cases.
Well, we see similar stuff nowadays. You have the first initial shock of whatever case or whatever's happening, the event. And then a lot of times it's an outpouring of support and worry for the victims. But then it's almost like the public gets bored of that narrative if it's not resolved very quickly or in some kind of very sensational manner. It gets bored, and it just always turns to these other ways of treating people and picking people apart. And
the public has very strong opinions on how people are supposed to behave in these situations.
Yeah.
Right?
When the truth
but there's
is...
no right way to behave.
No.
Because if you're trying to be calm and speak clearly, then you're not showing emotion.
You don't
and
care,
you're guilty.
blah, blah,
but then
blah.
if you're hysterical...
It's an act.
It's an act,
It's
and you're
too
being really
much.
dramatic.
It's too much. It's over the top. You just got to hit that
You
perfect,
just can't win.
perfect middle ground of just the silent tears.
During the months of February and March, there had been a string of crimes in the area surrounding Belmont College and Vanderbilt University, including rapes, attempted assaults, and murder. These crimes began 23 days before Marcia was taken. And here's the thing, Dylan. We're going to talk about some of these crimes before we end part 1, and then we'll discuss more in part 2. Part 2 is, again, there's a lot of information, a lot of strange twists and turns in this case. But you have this little girl disappear, and at no point, it seems, does the police link up these other crimes to her disappearance or connect them at all.
Okay.
February 2nd of 1975, 19-year-old Sarah DePrez, a native of New York, had moved to Estes Road when she was 9 years old. She was a sophomore in 1975 at Vanderbilt University. At the beginning of the year, she had moved into a small apartment 1 block from campus. She worked at Mims Hall, which was a girls' dormitory, as a night clerk. The Saturday night before, she'd had a date with Trammell Hudson. They had saw a movie and then went to a night spot. Afterwards, Hudson suggested they stop by his fraternity house, Sigma Alpha Epsilon, for a party. Now, this house was really crowded with this party, tons of people, hot, sweaty bodies. Everybody's piled inside. And of course, everybody's drinking. Sarah had a little bit too much to drink. She wasn't really feeling well. She wanted to go outside. Pretty quickly after, she tells her date, like, I want you to take me home. It's 1:40 a.m. So he takes her to this apartment and watches her go up the steps, like, into the apartment building. Around 11 a.m. on Sunday morning, Sarah's friend and neighbor who'd been keeping her, she had a puppy, had been keeping her puppy, used a key to enter into Sarah's apartment. This friend saw Sarah on the bed. She recognized that the sheets were a bit of a mess, but, you know, she thought, well, she's hungover. She's been out. I'm going to let her sleep. The friend grabs some dog food and then takes the pup across the hall. When he was hungry again, around 3:30, the friend returned to Sarah's apartment to get some more food. By 9 p.m., Sarah hadn't picked up the dog, and her friend knew that this was kind of odd. And then Sarah also showed up for work at 11 p.m. at the dorm to work the night shift, and she didn't show up for her job. It was after 11 p.m. when Dr. Roger De Perez got a phone call from the residence hall. Sarah had not shown up for work. Sarah's father and brother went to her apartment to check on her. They found Sarah in bed. The sheets were in a tangle. She was wearing only her blouse. Sarah had no pulse, and they could see that her face was pretty banged up and bruised.
Damn.
Police found during the initial investigation that none of the neighbors had heard or seen anything. She had had sexual intercourse prior to the homicide. Again, was this consensual or was this an assault? It seemed there was no forced entry into Sarah's third-floor apartment. Either Sarah knew her killer or the killer had waited outside in the dark hallway and maybe snatched her up.
I'm wondering why her date did not walk her into her door. I mean, come on. What are we doing here?
I don't know.
I'd walk you to your door, baby.
They say chivalry is dead, Dylan.
You'd walk me to my door.
I'd have to.
Let's be honest, I'd be the drunk one.
I'd have to.
Used to, I would have been the drunk
I'd have to, or otherwise you would never make it in the building, and they would find you the next morning like passed out in a bush.
Yeah.
And your pants would be missing or something.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to my pants.
And somehow you ended up with like half a pizza in a box.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? Okay.
I got a solid dasher, bud.
The murder sent shockwaves through Nashville. Dr. DePrez was a noted Vanderbilt physician, well known at the university, kind of a well-known doctor.
And that's a big medical school, right?
Yeah, and this is his daughter. The area between Belmont College and Vanderbilt was known at the time as, quote, the rape capital of Tennessee.
Damn.
It sat on the edge of a high-crime area. And sadly, these sexual assaults were pretty common. I mean, it earned that nickname. So you'd think there would be more patrolling of this area or something.
You think?
On February 15th, a Saturday night, Judy Porter stayed up late. She lived on the first floor of Wright Hall, which was a dorm. She fell asleep around 3:30 a.m. It was an hour later when she was startled awake. A gloved hand was over her mouth. A man was kneeling over her with a knife, the blade at the back of her neck. She could see that he was a black male, and he said, quote, if you make one move or scream or holler, I will kill you.
How terrifying.
The man violently raped Judy. During the altercation, he kept saying, quote, you white bitch.
Damn.
He forced Judy to perform oral sex, then raped her again. Afterwards, he asked about money. She told him she only had $1 and some change. This angered him. He grabbed Judy by the throat, and then the men went kind of rummaging through Judy's apartment looking for money. He was convinced that she had, quote, a big wad of cash hidden in the room. Because that's normal. College students always have a big wad of cash just hiding somewhere in their room.
God, what a monster.
In their floor safe. After another attack, the man demanded that Judy call him her Lord and Savior.
What a piece of shit.
By 5:30 a.m., the intruder had taken her rings and a few other items, then disappeared out the door. Wright Hall on Belmont College's campus was not even 5 miles from Copeland Drive. And this will all matter later. Charlotte Shatson, 24 years old, lived in an old house converted into apartments on Fairfax Avenue. She could see both campuses of Belmont and Vanderbilt from her location. After an evening out with a friend on February 23rd of 1975, Charlotte entered her apartment building. It was dark even for 5:30 in the morning. As she was opening the door, she felt someone grab her from behind. A knife pressed against her back, and a man gripped her mouth with his other hand. He was described as a black male, around 6'2". He slashed her neck 3 times. Luckily, she had an umbrella which she used as a weapon to lunge at him. She rammed him again with this umbrella in the stomach, and that's when she started screaming. She said he seemed really confused and angry that he could not physically control her. So the man jumped off the porch and ran west on Fairfax Avenue. She managed to get inside and call for help.
Good.
Her apartment was also less than 5 miles from the Trimble home.
I'm glad she stuck him with a damn umbrella.
Then on March 19th of 1975, 22-year-old newlywed Diana McMillan was living in an apartment on Ackland Park Drive. Her husband worked nights. Around 2 a.m. on that Sunday morning, he called to say his boss was letting him off early and asked if his wife could pick him up. She went out to the carport to unlock their car. When she tried turning the key in the ignition, the car would not start. It was dead. After a few tries, she grew frustrated. Like, what the hell's wrong with my car?
God, nothing pisses me off more than my car not starting.
Well, yeah, and she's got to go pick up her husband, and this is not the age of cell phones, so, she's probably worried, and like, how am I supposed to tell him the car's not starting? I mean, it's like a whole thing.
Right.
Suddenly, now here she is trying to get this car to start. Out of the darkness, a stranger appears. He wore a long tweed coat and a dark stocking cap. He also had a bandana covering his nose and face, but she could tell that he was African American. The man ordered Diana out of the car by saying he had a gun and that he wanted her purse. The man told her to get into the neighbor's car, which was parked under the carport. She couldn't get in the car. It was locked. He held the gun close to Diana and then directed her to go into her apartment. Inside, he demanded money, and Diana told him she only had 80 cents in the apartment and that it was like kind of in a change jar by the bed. Then he demanded that she take off her clothes and lie on the bed. The man raped her. Afterwards, he made her search the apartment for more money. Diana then heard her husband Bobby entering, and she yelled, my husband is coming home. And this guy just didn't even seem afraid, the intruder. She then called down to her husband. I guess they had like a 2-story apartment. So she calls downstairs, be careful, take it slow. Now, he doesn't really know what this means. He's like, what? Confused. It's 2 in the morning. So he kind of starts climbing the stairs slowly. Like, what is she talking about? That's when a man ran at him, pointed a gun, and ordered him into the bedroom.
It's terrifying.
He took Bobby's wallet, which contained $20. He ripped the phone off the wall, then bolted. Bobby went to a neighbor's apartment to call the police. During this time, police did not seem to be connecting the dots, and certainly not to the Marcia Trimble case later.
They're not even connecting the dots of this violent black male who's committed multiple assaults.
No, they don't even, it's like they're not even realizing that they have a serial predator. They're just sort of acting like these are all singular incidents.
In the rape capital of the country?
In the state.
Damn, dude. Come on, cops.
I mean, in some ways, I will say I think investigators did bungle this case a bit. Because they'll come out and say, like, oh, well, besides this Marcia Trimble case, we really didn't have any crime. There's nothing to connect this case. I mean, it's all going to come out in part 2. So these are kind of some important details. That's why I'm discussing these rape cases. And you'll see that investigators do have tunnel vision.
Right.
When it comes to the case. And that's why it's unsolved for a very long period of time. So I can't wait to bring you part 2.
Yeah, I can't wait for part 2 because this case is wild.
It's really interesting, and like I said, tunnel vision, and just maybe not the best policing or putting 2 and 2 together.
They're not putting 1 and 1 together.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Which again could be this having multi agencies involved, not sharing information, this little bit of a pissing contest they have. I mean, that could be to blame.
Yeah, and I've never understood that. We've said it before. We don't understand that attitude amongst different agencies. Everybody wants credit. Everybody wants to do it their way. I mean, it's just it's a trope in movies when the FBI shows up, local authorities are like, oh God, and it's probably affected so many cases over the years in an adverse manner. And it's just a very unnecessary mindset.
I just wanted to mention my resource for today's story. My main resource is a book by Douglas Jones and Phyllis Goebel entitled A Season of Darkness. It began with the brutal murder of pure innocence. And then also there are quite a few, articles from this time and spanning, some decades after the crime was committed. And then finally we get a resolution. Like I said, it's a cold case solved. So you've got, multiple decades, 40, 50 years of newspaper reporting on this.
That's crazy.
And like I said, it was one of the biggest, well-known crimes in Nashville.
Well, thank you for bringing this out of the vault. Appreciate all the digging around in there you do.
You're welcome.
This is a very interesting case, and I can't wait for you to bring us the conclusion next week.
Yeah, it's going to be, like I said, I think it's going to be really fascinating for folks to kind of see how this case progresses over the years.
All right, I'm fascinated. Color me fascinated.
All right, Dylan.
Yeah. That's what fascinated looks like.
Thanks for checking out today's episode. We'll be back in a couple of days with our midweek. And we hope that you guys are excited about our upcoming months where we're going to be kind of focusing on themes.
Yeah.
Be a little different. Bring you some interesting new cases. Maybe some you haven't heard of before.
That's going to be fun, and I can't wait to take part of it.
Okay, Dylan. I'll see you later.
All right. Until next time.
Bye, buddy.
Bye.